The last post is either a B-flat bugle call within British Infantry regiments or an E-flat cavalry trumpet call in British Cavalry and Royal Regiment of Artillery, used at Commonwealth military funerals and ceremonies commemorating those who have been killed in war. Its duration varies, typically from a little over 1 minute to nearly 3 minutes. For ceremonial use, the last post is often followed by the Rouse, or less usually the longer Reveille. The two regimental traditions have separate music for the call. While the B-flat infantry bugle version is better known, the E-flat cavalry trumpet version is used by the state trumpeters of the household cavalry, origin and wartime use. The first post call signals the start of the duty officer's inspection of a British Army camp's sentry posts, sounding a call at each one. The last post call originally signaled merely that the final sentry post had been inspected, and the camp was secure for the night. In addition to its normal garrison use, the last post call had another function at the close of a day of battle. It signaled to those who were still out and wounded or separated that the fighting was done, and to follow the sound of the call to find safety and rest. Its use in Remembrance Day ceremonies in Commonwealth nations has two generally unexpressed purposes. The first is an implied summoning of the spirits of the fallen to the cenotaph. The second is to symbolically end the day, so that the period of silence before the rouse is blown becomes in effect a ritualized night vigil. The last post is played at the end of inspection, typically lasted for about 45 seconds. When played ceremonially with notes held for longer, pauses extended, and the expression mournful, typical duration could be 75 seconds or more. This custom dates from the 17th century or earlier. It originated with British troops stationed in the Netherlands, where it drew on an older Dutch custom called tapto, from which comes the term tattoo as in military tattoo. The tapto was also used to signal the end of the day, but originated from a signal that beer taps had to be shut, hence that the day had ended. It comes from the Dutch phrase do den tapto, meaning close the tap. The Dutch bugle call tapto signaal, now used for remembrance events, is not the same tune as the last post. The last post was used by British forces in North America in colonial times, but was replaced by the different taps by the United States Army, first used in 1862 and officially recognized in 1874. Memorial usage. During the 19th century, the last post was also carried to the various countries of the British Empire. In all these countries it has been incorporated into military funerals, where it is played as a final farewell, symbolizing the fact that the duty of the dead soldier is over and that they can rest in peace. Last post is used in public ceremonials commemorating the war dead, particularly on Remembrance Day in the Commonwealth of Nations. In Australia and New Zealand it is also played on Anzac Day, usually before the 2-minute silence, which concludes with the rouse. When the post is played during services such as Anzac Day, it is required of all current serving military members to salute for the duration of the call. During services organized by the Royal British Legion, it is expected that no salute is given during the last post and silence, as all personnel will have removed headdresses in church service, prayer, have heads bowed, weapons inverted, and flags and standards lowered. EnEdC. Since 1928, the last post has been played every evening at 8 p.m. by buglers of the local Last Post Association at the War Memorial at Ypres in Belgium, known as the EnEdC, commemorating the British Empire dead at the Battle of Ypres during the First World War. The only exception to this was during the 4 years of the German occupation of Ypres from the 20th of May 1940 to the 6th of September 1944, when the ceremony moved to Brookwood Cemetery in England. On the evening that Polish forces liberated Ypres, the ceremony was resumed at the Menin Gate, in spite of the heavy fighting still going on in other parts of the town. These buglers or trumpeters are quite often mistaken as being from the local fire brigade. However, they are present every day representing the last post committee. They are indeed members of the fire brigade, and can sometimes be seen wearing the uniforms. But it is not the fire brigade that organizes last post. The last post committee have both silver B-flat bugles and E-flat cavalry trumpets, with either British Army tradition being respected at services at the gate. The last post ceremony has now been held more than 30,000 times. On the 9th of July 2015, a ceremony titled A Tribute to the Tribute took place to commemorate the 30,000th ceremony. Other uses. The last post was incorporated into the finale of Robert Stedman's In Memoriam, a choral work on the subject of remembrance. It is also incorporated into Carl Jenkins's orchestral Mass the Armed Man and Peter Sculthorpe's chamber orchestra work, Small Town from the Fifth Continent. A slightly altered version forms part of the slow movement of the Pastoral Symphony of Ralph Vaughan Williams and the ending of Mike Sam's choral setting of Lawrence Binion's poem For the Fallen. Robert Graves's poem The Last Post describes a soldier's funeral during World War I. Ford Madox Ford used The Last Post as title for part of his tetralogy Parade's End. In 2015, Lee Kernaghan recorded a version for his album Spirit of the Anzacs. The Last Post is the title of a theatre play by David Owen Smith and Peter Kame, performed during Armistice Week at Lincoln Drill Hall, Lincoln in November 2014. The play concerns the Beechey family of Lincoln, UK. Amy Beechey had 8 sons who all enlisted to fight during WW1. Only 3 of them survive. The bugle call is played during the final moments of the play. The play was directed by Janie Smith and performed by people of Lincoln.